Hi there, Zeno here. Welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to play He Leadeth Me from Fingerstyle Hymns Volume 10. So these are simple fingerstyle hymn arrangements that I've made for the hymns. So this arrangement in particular is great for learning how to play in the key of G open position because you're switching from two ways of playing in the key of G. So I think there are two ways to play. One is to play key of G with your ring finger on the bass note like this, and the other is to play with your middle finger on the bass note like this. And each particular way affects how you play the other chords if you're considering economy of motions. For example, the first one, this G chord right here, leads nicely to the C chord like that and to the D7 or D7 slash F sharp. There's not a lot of movement, right? So from this G, you typically want to go to this kind of C, not this C, right? You don't want to go, right? It's just not economical. The other way to play in the key of G is what I call easy G, which is what a lot of worship leaders would use, right? So middle finger will play the bass note, and you typically would go to that C add 9 chord and D sus4 or D. So this arrangement switches from just your traditional playing and your easy G kind of playing, right? On the verse, we're starting off with ring finger on the bass note, and then in the chorus, we're going to the middle finger playing the bass note. Here's the verse, and you can see, right? It says that to play that bass note, 3rd fret, we're using our 3rd finger. So the numbers on the bottom indicate left-hand fingering. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the letters on the top indicate right hand fingering, P-I-M-A. It's a good idea for you to look at the right hand fingering or what you're going to use for each measure because you're switching like this all the time. So it's important to take note of the right hand fingering so that you can play it smoothly. So let's get started with just the first two measures here. First measure is really simple because it's just pinky, 3rd fret, and we're going to use our ring finger on the right hand. Then measure 2. Okay, now there is this squiggly line here, which means that we're going to arpeggiate this chord. Arpeggiate means to play the strings one at a time. So here's my G chord, and what you want to do is play thumb, index, middle, ring. But you want to play that fast. There's a couple ways you can do that. One is to just use your fingers where you kind of pull the trigger like that. The other way is to kind of peel, right? Like that. So I'm not really pulling my fingers like a trigger as much. I'm kind of holding tight and then I peel off like that. So you could either go like this, or you could go like that. Then we go to measure 3. It's a C chord. Now notice I don't even put my middle finger down because we're not really playing that D string. All right, so it starts off again with an arpeggiate. And then on the right hand, we're moving from this position, position 2, we're gonna go to position 1. Measure 3. Measure 4, right hand goes back up. Measure 5, you have an E minor. And the right hand position stays the same. We don't really move down. Okay, so E minor, 7. I actually don't need to put my fingers down. Then I have a D with F sharp on the bass. So I'm using my thumb here to play that F sharp, and then I want you to notice how for this D chord we're using that middle finger on the G string, because later on we're gonna switch, right? When we switch positions, we're gonna use index finger. For now, because we're using G chord this way, it just makes sense to use the middle finger. Okay, measure 6. This kind of D chord fingering leads well to this G chord where you're using the ring finger because your ring finger is free. That means that when you're playing that D chord, don't use your ring finger. use your pinky so that your ring finger is free and you can anticipate and prepare to play that G chord using your ring finger. You don't want to go like this, using that ring finger to play both that melody and the bass note. You want to keep that ring finger free. Okay, measure 6. That's just a repetition. Measure 7, back to C chord, right hand goes down a string. All right, now it's important to use the right fingerings for this. So C, then pinky goes down, and we're gonna use our middle finger here. I guess you could use your index finger if you want to, but your index finger is still here and you really want to hold that note and let it ring out. You want it to overlap. Right, as much as possible, you in fingerstyle at least, and for this kind of stuff, you want those notes to ring out and overlap. So that's why you use your middle finger to play this 2nd fret high E string. Okay, back to measure 8. Right hand fingers move up a string, right? Measure 8. Okay, so now we have a new technique here, a pull off. So when you pluck this note, just pluck it once, and you pull off with the left hand fingering. So you pluck it once, but the sound, the second sound comes from pulling off. Okay, so measure 8, measure 9. Okay, now here, because we're going to the second way of playing that G chord with the middle finger on the bass note, notice now how, in anticipation of that, we're using index finger to play that D chord. If we play it this way, then again, you're doing this this jump here that chokes the notes. There's no fluidity to the movement. So measure 9, you're starting off with this G chord using ring finger on the bass note. And then when we get to the D chord, thumb on the bass note, index finger on the 2nd fret. Now you're ready to switch. All right. All right, the other switch that's gonna happen is with your right hand. Starting on this very last note, we're moving up a string. Basically, just use your middle finger to play that, and it should set you up for playing in the right position. So now we are in measure 10 here. Then we have a D chord. We arpeggiate it first. Pinky down. Back to C chord for measure 11. Okay, so that's then G chord, E minor. This whole time we're still in position 1. Pull off. All right, so that measure 12 goes like this. 13, index finger. All right, notice how we went from this G chord, middle finger, and then G chord, ring finger. We're going back and forth. G chord, ring finger, and then again, G chord, middle finger. All right? Pay attention to how you prepare to get there as well, because the D chord, depending on what kind of G chord you'll play, the fingering for the D chord changes. So anyways, we are here on measure 13. We're going index finger, there's measure 14, arpeggiate, measure 15, measure 16, So now again, we're back to ring finger playing that bass note. And so notice again that for this D chord, we're using middle finger because we are gonna go to G with ring finger on the bass note. Right, so 17 goes like this. And then we are here, we have a repeat sign. This one goes all the way back to measure 2. And we play that all the way until we get to measure 16. And we skip 17 because that was the first ending. Then we go to the second ending instead. So 16, go to 18. So from second half of 16, 18, and that's it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure to subscribe if you did. And if you want to learn more and have in-depth learning, join my academy. Link is in the description.